Success does not begin when your circumstances change. It begins when you do. Most people are waiting for the perfect moment, the right feeling, or a surge of motivation before they take action. That moment rarely comes, and while they wait, days pass, opportunities fade, and confidence slowly erodes. Not because they are incapable, but because they never learned the one skill that matters most: discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is not forced. It is not about living a restricted or joyless life. Discipline is the ability to keep promises to yourself when no one is watching. It is the quiet strength to do what needs to be done long after excitement disappears, and this is where real success starts. Many people believe success is about talent, intelligence, or luck. But talent without discipline fades. Intelligence without discipline stalls. And luck without discipline is wasted. If you look closely at anyone who has built a strong life, you will not find constant motivation. You will find standards, clear standards for how they think, how they act, and what they allow into their lives. This audiobook is not here to hype you up for a moment. It is here to train you, to help you build the kind of discipline that works even on hard days, boring days, and lonely days. The kind of discipline that does not depend on mood, energy, or external validation. Because your life is shaped far more by what you do consistently than by what you intend occasionally. At some point, everyone reaches a quiet realization. No one is coming to save you. No one will force you to focus. No one will make you show up. No one will build your habits for you, and the moment you accept that truth, you regain your power. Responsibility stops feeling heavy and starts feeling freeing. Success is not a destination you arrive at. It is a byproduct of who you become. And who you become is determined by the actions you repeat when you would rather quit. Discipline turns effort into identity. It turns action into self-respect. And over time, it turns struggle into strength. In this audiobook, you will walk through 8 focused stages of discipline. Each stage is designed to sharpen your self-control, strengthen your mindset, and help you become someone you trust. Not someone who waits for motivation, but someone who acts with intention. Someone who follows through. Someone who finishes what they start. If you have ever felt stuck, frustrated, or disappointed in yourself, this is not a sign that you are broken. It is a signal that your standards have not yet caught up to your potential. Discipline is the bridge between who you are now and who you know you could be. And once that bridge is built, progress stops feeling impossible and starts feeling inevitable. You do not need to change everything at once. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You need to decide that your future matters more than your comfort at this moment. Because the truth is simple and uncompromising. Success does not start when your life gets easier. It starts when you choose to get stronger. This is your moment to stop waiting and start building. Not tomorrow, not someday. Today, commit and prove it through daily action. Chapter 1. Why discipline is the real foundation of success. Most people believe success begins with motivation. They wait to feel inspired, confident, or ready before they take action. This belief feels comforting because it removes pressure. It suggests that one day everything will align emotionally and progress will become easy. But that day rarely comes. And while people wait for motivation, their lives remain the same. Not because they are incapable, but because they are relying on the wrong foundation. Motivation is emotional. It depends on mood, energy, and circumstance. Some days it shows up strong. Other days it disappears completely. Discipline, on the other hand, is structural. It does not ask how you feel. It asks who you have decided to be, and that difference determines whether progress is temporary or permanent. If motivation were enough, most people would already be successful. They know what to do. They know what needs to change. They know which habits are holding them back. Information is not the problem. Access is not the problem. The problem is consistency, and consistency is built on discipline, not desire. Discipline is often misunderstood as harsh self-control or constant suffering. But discipline is not about punishment. It is about alignment. Discipline is the practice of acting in line with your long-term values instead of your short-term impulses. It is choosing future stability over present comfort. And every time you make that choice, you strengthen your ability to trust yourself. Look at people who achieve lasting success, not short bursts of attention or temporary wins. You will not find them depending on motivation. You will find systems. You will find routines. You will find non-negotiable standards. Discipline turns effort into something automatic. It removes the daily question of whether you will show up. The decision has already been made. There is a culture that glorifies motivation. Quotes, videos, speeches that promise instant fire and fast transformation. The problem is not that motivation is useless. The problem is that motivation fades, and when it fades, most people stop. Discipline exists for that exact moment. Discipline is what carries you forward when excitement disappears and progress feels invisible. The uncomfortable truth is this: the version of you that waits for motivation will never outperform the version of you that operates by discipline. Discipline teaches you to act even when conditions are imperfect, especially when conditions are imperfect, because life rarely offers ideal circumstances. Discipline also changes your relationship with discomfort. Most people avoid discomfort whenever possible. They delay hard conversations. They skip difficult tasks. They choose what feels easy now and hope to fix things later. Discipline trains you to face discomfort early and intentionally. And the more you do that, the less power discomfort has over you. This is where discipline becomes a source of confidence. Confidence is not something you think your way into. It is something you earn through evidence. Each time you follow through when it would be easier to quit, you collect proof that you are reliable. Over time, that proof compounds. You begin to trust yourself, and when you trust yourself, you move differently through the world. Without discipline, talent becomes a burden. You know you are capable of more, yet you fail to access it consistently. That gap between potential and performance creates frustration, self-doubt, and regret. Discipline closes that gap. It turns potential into action, and action into identity. Discipline also simplifies your life. When you rely on motivation, every choice becomes a negotiation. Should I do this now or later? Do I feel like it today? Is it really necessary? Discipline removes those questions. You already know what you do and what you don't do. That clarity reduces mental noise and saves energy for what truly matters. At first, discipline feels restrictive. Saying no to distractions feels uncomfortable. Holding yourself to standards feels demanding. But over time, discipline creates freedom. You gain control over your schedule, your focus, and your energy. You are no longer pulled in every direction by impulse. Freedom does not come from unlimited choice. It comes from self-command. Many people believe discipline will make life rigid or joyless. The opposite is true. Discipline removes chaos. It removes constant guilt. It removes the feeling of falling behind. A disciplined life creates space for real enjoyment because progress is no longer accidental. It is intentional. You do not need extreme discipline to change your life. You need consistent discipline. A few habits done daily, a commitment to showing up even when no one is watching. Discipline does not demand perfection. It demands repetition, again and again, especially on ordinary days. Understand this clearly. Discipline is not the enemy of happiness. It is the foundation of self-respect. And self-respect is the root of a meaningful life. When you act with discipline, you stop betraying yourself. You stop making promises you don't keep. You stop hoping things will change on their own. Success does not come to those who feel ready. It comes to those who act consistently. Discipline is not something you add after success arrives. It is the structure that makes success inevitable. Chapter 2. Taking full responsibility for your life. There is a moment in every person's life that quietly divides everything into two paths. One path leads to excuses, blame, and waiting. The other leads to ownership, growth, and change. That moment arrives when you realize a difficult truth. No one else is responsible for the direction of your life. Not your parents, not your past, not your circumstances. You are. Most people resist this idea because responsibility feels heavy. It feels unfair. It feels like pressure. But responsibility is not a burden. It is power. The moment you take full responsibility for your life, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the architect of your future. Discipline begins here, not in action, but in ownership. Blame is seductive. It offers comfort. It gives you a story that explains why things are not working out. The economy, other people, bad luck, a lack of opportunity. And while some of these factors may be real, focusing on them costs you something far more valuable: control. Every time you blame something outside yourself, you give away your ability to change the outcome. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything that has happened to you. There is a difference between fault and responsibility. Fault is about the past. Responsibility is about the present. You may not be at fault for where you started, but you are responsible for where you go next. Discipline grows when you accept this distinction fully. Many people say they want change, but their language tells a different story. They say, "I can't, I don't have time, I'll try," or "it's not my fault." These phrases seem harmless, but they quietly reinforce helplessness. Discipline begins when you change how you speak to yourself, when "I can't" becomes "I choose not to." Responsibility returns to your hands. There is something uncomfortable about standing alone with your life. No excuses, no explanations, just you and your choices. But inside that discomfort is clarity. When you accept that your habits, decisions, and standards shape your outcomes, confusion fades. You no longer wonder why things aren't changing. You know exactly where to look. Responsibility also changes how you handle failure. Without responsibility, failure feels personal and crushing. With responsibility, failure becomes information, a signal, a lesson. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can I adjust?" That shift is the foundation of discipline. Discipline is not about never failing. It is about responding correctly when you do. Taking responsibility means ending the habit of waiting for permission. You stop waiting for someone to motivate you, guide you, or approve your next step. You move because it is necessary, not because it is encouraged. This is where discipline separates you from the crowd. Most people wait to be pushed. Disciplined people push themselves. Responsibility also forces honesty. You can no longer hide behind busyness or distraction. You see clearly how your time is spent. You see where your energy goes, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Discipline begins when awareness meets action, when you stop pretending and start correcting. This level of ownership is uncomfortable at first because it removes escape routes. You can no longer say, "I tried." You either did the work or you didn't. You either showed up or you didn't. But this clarity is liberating. It removes guilt. It removes confusion. You know exactly where you stand. When you take responsibility, your standards rise naturally. You stop tolerating behaviors that weaken you. You stop repeating habits that keep you stuck. You begin to act in ways that align with the person you respect. Responsibility creates discipline because it creates accountability, and accountability creates consistency. There is also a quiet confidence that comes with ownership. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need constant reassurance. You are no longer waiting to be understood. You are too busy building. Responsibility grounds you. It keeps you focused on what you can control and indifferent to what you cannot. Most people never experience this level of clarity because they never fully claim their lives. They stay halfway committed, halfway honest, halfway disciplined. But success requires full ownership. Not perfection, not intensity, ownership day after day. Taking responsibility does not mean you will never feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain. It means you act anyway. It means you stop negotiating with reality and start working with it. Discipline is built when responsibility becomes non-negotiable. Understand this clearly. The moment you stop blaming is the moment you start building. Nothing changes before that. Everything changes after. Responsibility is not about pressure. It is about permission. The permission to take control of your life and shape it with intention. Your life will not improve because circumstances change. It will improve because you decide to carry responsibility fully. And once you do, discipline no longer feels forced. It feels natural. Because you are no longer running from the truth. You are standing inside it and moving forward. Chapter 3. Building Daily Discipline Through Small Actions. When most people think about discipline, they imagine drastic change, waking up at extreme hours, completely transforming their lifestyle overnight, pushing themselves to exhaustion and calling it growth. This mindset is one of the biggest reasons discipline fails. Not because people are weak, but because they aim in the wrong direction. Discipline is not built through intensity. It is built through consistency. And consistency is created by small actions done daily. Big goals feel inspiring, but they are often paralyzing. When the gap between where you are and where you want to be feels too wide, your mind looks for escape. You procrastinate. You delay. You tell yourself you will start when you have more time, more energy, or more clarity. Discipline cuts through this illusion by focusing on what is small, repeatable, and unavoidable. Small actions matter because they are manageable even on your worst days. When motivation is low, when confidence feels shaky, when life feels heavy, small actions keep you moving. They prevent stagnation. They protect momentum. Discipline does not ask you to do everything today. It asks you to do something every day. There is a powerful psychological shift that happens when you stop measuring progress by how hard something feels and start measuring it by how consistently you show up. One small action completed today is more valuable than a perfect plan that never gets executed. Discipline grows when action becomes a habit rather than a decision. Many people sabotage themselves by waiting for the right level of effort. They believe that if they cannot give 100%, it is not worth starting. This all-or-nothing thinking destroys consistency. Discipline teaches a different rule. Lower the bar for starting. Raise the standard for continuing. You begin small, but you show up without exception. Small actions compound. This is not motivational language. It is reality. A single action may feel insignificant, but repeated daily, it reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who does. Discipline is not built by dramatic moments. It is built quietly, through repetition that no one applauds. Daily discipline also trains your nervous system. When you show up at the same time, for the same habit, in the same way, your mind begins to cooperate. Resistance decreases. What once felt difficult starts to feel natural. This is why disciplined people appear calm and consistent. They are not fighting themselves every day. They have trained their behavior through repetition. Another important truth is that small actions remove fear. Large tasks trigger anxiety because they carry pressure and expectations. Small actions feel safe. They lower the emotional cost of starting. Once you begin, momentum takes over. Discipline understands this and uses it strategically. It focuses on initiation, not perfection. Consistency also builds self-trust. Every time you complete a small promise to yourself, you reinforce a powerful message. I follow through. Over time, this message becomes belief, and belief becomes confidence. Not loud confidence, but quiet confidence. The kind that does not depend on praise or recognition. Many people think they lack discipline when what they actually lack is a system for small, daily action. They rely on willpower, which is limited and unreliable. Discipline replaces willpower with structure. Same habit, same time, same standard. This removes decision fatigue and preserves energy. It is important to understand that discipline does not grow through occasional heroic effort. It grows through ordinary days handled well. Days where nothing exciting happens. Days where progress feels invisible. These are the days that shape you. Small actions on ordinary days separate people who change from people who stay the same. You do not need to overhaul your life to build discipline. You need to choose 1 or 2 behaviors and repeat them daily without negotiation. 10 minutes of focused work. 1 workout. 1 page written. 1 deliberate action that aligns with the person you want to become. Discipline thrives on simplicity. Another mistake people make is waiting for results to validate their effort. Discipline asks you to trust the process before the results appear. Small actions often feel unrewarding at first because their impact is delayed. But that delay is what makes them powerful. While others quit because they see no immediate payoff, disciplined people continue because showing up is no longer dependent on outcome. Daily discipline also teaches patience. You learn to respect time. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop comparing your progress to others. You understand that growth happens quietly, beneath the surface, long before it becomes visible. This mindset protects you from frustration and burnout. Small actions also create stability during chaos. When life becomes unpredictable, discipline anchored in simple habits keeps you grounded. Even when everything else feels uncertain, you know what you will do today. That certainty is calming. It restores control. Discipline does not eliminate difficulty, but it gives you something solid to stand on. Understand this clearly. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You sink to the level of your systems. Systems built on small actions are resilient. They survive bad days, low motivation, and unexpected obstacles. Discipline is not about pushing harder. It is about showing up again. Over time, these small actions reshape how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who struggles to stay consistent. You become someone who simply does what they said they would do. That identity shift is subtle, but it is transformative. Discipline becomes less about effort and more about alignment. Building daily discipline through small actions is not glamorous. No one will notice at first. There will be no dramatic moment where everything changes. But one day, you will look back and realize that you are no longer the same person. Not because you made one big decision, but because you honored many small ones. That is how discipline is built. Quietly, daily, intentionally. And once it is built, it becomes one of the most powerful forces shaping your life. Chapter 4. Mastering your mind when motivation is gone. There will be days when motivation disappears completely. Not fades, disappears. You wake up tired. Your mind feels heavy. The goals that once excited you now feel distant and abstract. On those days, discipline is not tested by effort, but by obedience. This is where most people fail, not because they cannot do the work, but because they start listening to the wrong voice inside their head. Your mind is not designed to help you grow. It is designed to protect you. It looks for comfort, safety, and efficiency. When something feels difficult, unfamiliar, or uncomfortable, your mind sends signals to stop. It creates excuses that sound logical. Do it later. You need rest. You'll be more productive tomorrow. These thoughts feel reasonable, but they are rarely true. Discipline begins when you stop negotiating with these thoughts. Most people believe they must feel ready before they act. Disciplined people understand a different rule. Action comes first. Clarity comes later. Waiting to feel motivated is a trap. Motivation is often the result of action, not the cause of it. When you act despite resistance, your mind adjusts. When you wait, your mind strengthens the habit of avoidance. Mastering your mind does not mean silencing thoughts or eliminating resistance. That is unrealistic. It means learning not to obey every impulse. You will still feel tired. You will still feel doubt. You will still feel the urge to quit. Discipline teaches you to acknowledge those feelings without letting them dictate your behavior. You feel it, and you move anyway. One of the most important skills discipline builds is the ability to act before overthinking begins. The longer you think, the more reasons your mind finds to delay. Disciplined people shorten the gap between decision and action. They do not sit and debate, they move. That movement interrupts the mental loop and shifts control back to behavior. This is why simple rules are powerful. When your rules are clear, there is nothing to discuss. You do not ask, "Should I work today?" You already decided that you work every weekday. You do not ask, "Should I train today?" You already decided that you train when it is scheduled. Discipline removes choice in moments where choice weakens you. Your mind will test you most when progress is slow. When effort does not immediately translate into results, motivation vanishes. This is the danger zone. Many people quit here, assuming something is wrong. Discipline recognizes this phase as normal. Growth is often invisible before it is obvious. Mastery requires patience with boredom and faith in process. Another mental trap is emotional identification. People say, "I feel unmotivated, so I am unmotivated." Discipline separates feeling from identity. You are not your mood. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who decides how to act despite them. This separation creates power. You stop asking, "How do I feel?" and start asking, "What does discipline require right now?" Mastering your mind also means understanding that discipline is not harsh. It is protective. When you give your mind too much control, it leads you toward comfort that weakens you. Discipline steps in as a guardrail. It prevents short-term relief from destroying long-term progress. In this sense, discipline is not force. It is care. One practical way discipline trains the mind is through immediate action. The moment you notice resistance, you move. You stand up. You open the document. You put on your shoes. These small physical actions override mental hesitation. The body moves first, and the mind follows. Waiting for mental agreement is unnecessary. Another key principle is this: discipline does not require enthusiasm. It requires commitment. You can act without passion. You can work without excitement. You can train without feeling inspired. Discipline is neutral. It does not depend on emotional highs. It depends on standards. Many people fear that acting without motivation will make life feel mechanical or empty. The opposite happens. When you stop relying on motivation, you gain stability. Your energy becomes consistent. Your confidence becomes grounded. You stop riding emotional highs and lows. Discipline creates emotional balance because your actions are no longer controlled by mood. Mastering your mind also means learning when not to listen to it. Not every thought deserves attention. Not every feeling deserves action. Discipline teaches selective listening. You listen to information, not to excuses. You listen to reality, not to fear disguised as logic. There will be moments when your mind feels loud and aggressive. It will question your path. It will remind you of past failures. It will suggest quitting quietly. Discipline does not argue with these thoughts. It does not try to prove them wrong. It simply continues forward. Consistent action weakens mental resistance over time. This chapter is about accepting a hard truth. You cannot think your way into discipline. You must act your way into it. The mind adapts to behavior, not the other way around. When you act consistently, your thoughts change. When you wait for thoughts to change, nothing happens. Mastering your mind when motivation is gone is not about being strong all the time. It is about being decisive. It is about knowing that feelings are temporary, but standards are permanent. Discipline is choosing to honor your standard regardless of your emotional state. You will not always feel ready. You will not always feel confident. You will not always feel capable. Discipline is what carries you through those moments. It is the quiet decision to move forward without drama, without negotiation, and without waiting for permission. Understand this clearly. Motivation will leave you. Discipline will stay if you train it. And when motivation is gone, discipline is not just helpful, it is everything. Chapter 5. Eliminating distractions and weak habits. Discipline does not only require doing the right things, it also requires removing the wrong ones. Many people believe their biggest problem is a lack of time or energy. In reality, their biggest problem is distraction. Their focus is constantly fractured, their attention scattered, and their discipline slowly drained by habits that seem harmless, but quietly weaken them every day. Distractions rarely appear dangerous. They appear convenient, comfortable, entertaining. They fill small gaps of boredom and promise quick relief from effort. But what they actually steal is momentum, and momentum is the fuel discipline runs on. When your attention is constantly interrupted, discipline has no stable ground to stand on. Most people underestimate how much energy distraction consumes. Every notification, every unnecessary scroll, every impulsive check pulls you out of the present moment. You return to your work slightly weaker, slightly less focused, slightly more resistant. Over time, this adds up. Discipline does not collapse suddenly. It erodes quietly. Weak habits function the same way. They don't ruin your life overnight. They normalize inconsistency. They train your nervous system to seek comfort instead of progress, and the more often you repeat them, the harder it becomes to tolerate focus, effort, and stillness. Discipline requires a certain tolerance for discomfort, and weak habits slowly destroy that tolerance. Eliminating distractions is not about becoming extreme or disconnected from the world. It is about choosing what deserves access to your attention. Attention is finite. Every time you give it to something meaningless, you take it away from something that could build you. Discipline is the skill of protecting attention deliberately. One of the hardest truths to accept is this: if something consistently drains your focus, it is costing you more than you think. Social media, constant messaging, background noise, endless consumption. None of these feel destructive in isolation. But together, they create a life where deep work, deep thought, and deep discipline become almost impossible. Discipline begins with awareness. You cannot eliminate what you refuse to see. This means honestly auditing your habits. How do you start your mornings? Where does your attention go when you feel bored or uncomfortable? What do you reach for when effort is required? These questions are uncomfortable because they reveal patterns we prefer to ignore. Many people distract themselves not because they are lazy, but because they are avoiding discomfort. Focus requires presence. Effort requires friction. Distractions offer escape. Discipline grows when you stop escaping and start staying with what feels uncomfortable long enough to move through it. Eliminating weak habits also means letting go of identity attachments. Some habits feel like part of who you are. You tell yourself, "That's just how I relax," or "That's how I cope." Discipline asks a harder question. Is this habit strengthening me or weakening me? If the answer is weakening, discipline requires distance. This does not mean removing everything at once. That approach usually fails. Discipline works best when it is strategic. Remove one major distraction, replace one weak habit, create one protected space for focus. Small removals compound just like small actions do. Each eliminated distraction restores a piece of your attention. Another important principle is this: environment shapes behavior. If distractions are always within reach, discipline will constantly fight uphill. You're not meant to rely on willpower alone. Discipline becomes easier when the environment supports it. Silence notifications. Set physical boundaries. Design your space to reduce temptation instead of testing your strength. Weak habits also thrive in ambiguity. When rules are unclear, excuses multiply. Discipline removes ambiguity. You decide in advance what you allow and what you don't. You stop making decisions in the moment when emotions are loud. Clear rules protect discipline when motivation is low. There is also a deeper emotional layer to distractions. Many people distract themselves to avoid facing dissatisfaction, fear, or uncertainty. Silence can feel threatening. Stillness can feel heavy. Discipline requires learning to sit with discomfort without immediately numbing it. This is not easy, but it is transformative. As distractions fade, something interesting happens. Your sensitivity returns. Focus feels sharper. Time feels slower. Effort feels more meaningful. Discipline becomes less forced because your attention is no longer constantly being pulled away. You regain control not by adding more effort, but by removing interference. Weak habits also affect self-respect. Every time you give in to something you know is not aligned with your goals, you reinforce a subtle message: I don't take my own standards seriously. Discipline is built on self-trust, and self-trust erodes when standards are ignored. Eliminating weak habits restores integrity. This process will feel uncomfortable at first. Removing distractions creates space, and in that space, you will feel boredom, restlessness, and resistance. This is normal. Most people quit here and return to familiar habits. Disciplined people stay. They allow discomfort to pass. And when it does, strength remains. Eliminating distractions is not about becoming rigid or joyless. It is about choosing depth over noise, presence over escape, intention over impulse. Discipline thrives in simplicity. When fewer things compete for your attention, what matters becomes clearer. Understand this clearly. You cannot build discipline in a life filled with constant distraction. Focus is not optional. It is foundational. Every distraction you remove is an act of self-respect. Every weak habit you eliminate creates room for strength to grow. Discipline is not just about what you do. It is about what you refuse to tolerate. When you stop tolerating what weakens you, you begin to embody the person you respect. And that shift changes everything. Chapter 6. Doing the hard things. Every single day, discipline is revealed most clearly in moments of resistance. Not in moments of inspiration, not when conditions are perfect, but when something feels difficult and you choose to do it anyway. This chapter is about that choice. The choice to face discomfort daily, not because it feels good, but because it builds strength that comfort never can. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid discomfort. They avoid difficult conversations, challenging tasks, physical effort, emotional honesty. They wait for an easier version of hard things that rarely arrives. Discipline teaches a different approach. Do the hard thing early, intentionally, and consistently. This is where real growth happens. Doing hard things does not mean overwhelming yourself or chasing pain. It means refusing to let discomfort decide your actions. Every meaningful improvement in your life will require some form of discomfort. There is no path around it. Discipline accepts this reality instead of fighting it. Hard things train your nervous system. When you repeatedly expose yourself to controlled discomfort, your tolerance increases. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. What once triggered avoidance becomes familiar. Discipline works like physical training for the mind. The more you practice discomfort, the less power it has over you. Many people believe they need confidence before doing hard things. In reality, confidence is built by doing them. Each difficult action completed sends a clear signal: I can handle this. Over time, that signal becomes belief. Discipline creates confidence not through thinking, but through evidence. Daily exposure to difficulty also builds emotional resilience. Life will always present challenges you did not choose. Discipline prepares you for those moments by training you to move forward even when things feel uncomfortable. You become less reactive, less fragile, less dependent on ideal conditions. One of the most effective ways to build discipline is to choose one hard thing every day and do it without negotiation. Wake up earlier than you want. Finish the task you keep avoiding. Have the conversation you've been postponing. These actions may seem small, but they compound into a powerful identity shift. Discomfort also clarifies priorities. When something is hard, your mind looks for reasons to escape. Discipline forces you to decide what matters. If you consistently choose growth over comfort, your values become visible in your actions. You stop telling yourself stories about who you want to be and start proving it. There is a common fear that living this way will lead to burnout or unhappiness. But discipline does not demand constant intensity. It demands consistency. You are not asked to suffer endlessly. You're asked to tolerate short-term discomfort for long-term stability. This balance is what sustains discipline over time. Doing hard things also sharpens focus. When you commit to effort, distractions lose their appeal. Comfort becomes less seductive. You develop a respect for effort that protects you from wasting time. Discipline simplifies decision-making because the standard is clear. If it is necessary and aligned with your values, you do it. Many people wait for hard things to feel easier before starting. Discipline understands that ease comes after repetition, not before. The first repetitions are always uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that adaptation is beginning. Daily discipline also trains humility. Hard things remind you that growth requires effort and patience. There are no shortcuts, no hacks, just consistent application. This humility keeps you grounded and focused on process rather than outcome. Another important aspect of doing hard things is learning to act without drama. You do not need to make discomfort a story. You do not need to complain or justify. Discipline is quiet. You see what needs to be done, and you do it. No performance, no negotiation. Over time, something subtle but powerful happens. You begin to respect yourself more, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. You stop fearing challenges. You stop avoiding effort. You trust your ability to endure. That trust changes how you approach everything. Doing hard things every day also creates momentum. Each completed challenge reduces the weight of the next one. You build a rhythm of action. Discipline becomes part of how you live, not something you force occasionally. This rhythm is what separates people who change temporarily from people who transform permanently. It is important to understand that discomfort does not disappear. Discipline does not remove difficulty from life. It changes your relationship with it. You stop seeing discomfort as an enemy and start seeing it as a signal of progress. That shift removes fear and replaces it with purpose. Most people regret not the hard things they did, but the hard things they avoided. Discipline prevents regret by encouraging action while it still matters. You do not wait for perfect conditions. You act while the opportunity is present. Doing hard things every single day is not about being extreme. It is about being intentional. One difficult action per day is enough to reshape your identity. Over time, you become someone who does not flinch at effort, someone who does not retreat at resistance, someone who moves forward calmly and deliberately. This is the heart of discipline. Not comfort, not convenient. Commitment. When you choose effort daily, even in small ways, you build a life that feels solid and earned. Discipline grows strongest where comfort ends, and each hard thing you complete is a reminder that you are capable of more than you think. Chapter 7. Becoming the person you respect. Discipline reaches its most powerful stage when it stops being something you do and starts becoming someone you are. This is where identity changes. This is where effort turns into character, and this is where lasting confidence is built, not from achievement, but from self-respect. Most people chase confidence as a feeling. They want to feel strong, capable, and secure before they act. Discipline flips this order. You act first. You follow through. And from that follow-through, respect is earned. Self-respect does not come from positive thinking or external praise. It comes from keeping promises to yourself, especially when it would be easier to break them. Every time you say you will do something and then don't, something small erodes inside you. You may not notice it immediately, but over time, it accumulates. Doubt grows. Trust weakens. You start questioning your own words. Discipline reverses this process. Each completed action restores integrity. Each follow-through repairs trust. Becoming the person you respect does not require grand achievements. It requires alignment. Alignment between what you say matters and how you actually live. When your actions consistently reflect your values, self-respect grows naturally. You no longer need motivation because you do not want to disappoint yourself. Identity is shaped by repetition, not by intentions, but by behaviors you perform again and again. If you repeatedly avoid effort, your identity becomes someone who avoids. If you repeatedly show up, your identity becomes someone who shows up. Discipline is the mechanism that turns repeated behavior into identity. Many people feel disconnected from themselves because their actions contradict their values. They say health matters but neglect their body. They say growth matters but avoid learning. This contradiction creates internal tension. Discipline resolves that tension by closing the gap between belief and behavior. Respecting yourself also changes how you carry yourself. Your posture shifts, your voice steadies, your decisions become cleaner. You no longer feel the need to explain or justify yourself constantly. There is a quiet authority that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. One of the most powerful effects of discipline is that it eliminates the need for external validation. When you know you are doing the work, you stop seeking approval. You are no longer dependent on praise to feel worthy. Your standard becomes internal, and that internal standard is far more stable than public opinion. Becoming the person you respect also means choosing long-term pride over short-term relief. Relief feels good at the moment, but it fades quickly. Pride lasts. Pride is the calm satisfaction of knowing you did not betray yourself. Discipline teaches you to prioritize pride over comfort. There will be moments when no one sees your effort. No applause, no recognition. Discipline asks you to act anyway. Those unseen moments are where self-respect is built most strongly. When you do the right thing without an audience, you prove that your standards are real. Identity-based discipline also changes how you make decisions. You stop asking, "What do I feel like doing?" and start asking, "What would the person I respect do right now?" That question simplifies everything. It removes confusion. It provides direction when emotions are loud. Many people underestimate how powerful this identity shift is. Once you see yourself as someone disciplined, acting otherwise feels uncomfortable. Inconsistency no longer feels natural. This is when discipline becomes self-reinforcing. You do not need to force it as often because your identity supports it. Self-respect also brings emotional stability. You are less shaken by setbacks because your worth is not tied to outcomes. You know you are showing up. You know you are trying honestly. That knowledge grounds you during uncertainty and keeps you steady under pressure. It is important to understand that becoming the person you respect does not mean becoming perfect. Perfection is unrealistic and fragile. Discipline is resilient. You will make mistakes. You will miss days. What matters is how quickly you return to your standard. Self-respect grows when recovery becomes faster. Another subtle change happens as discipline shapes identity. You become more selective. You protect your time. You protect your energy. You say no more often, not out of arrogance, but out of respect for what you are building. Discipline sharpens boundaries. You also stop engaging in self-betrayal through small lies. Just this once. It doesn't matter. Discipline recognizes these phrases as warning signs. The person you respect does not need constant exceptions. They need consistency. As your identity strengthens, so does your presence. People feel it, not because you announce it, but because you are grounded. You listen more carefully. You speak more deliberately. You act with intention. Discipline gives you weight, not volume. Becoming the person you respect is not a destination. It is a practice, a daily choice to live in alignment with your values. Some days will be easier. Some days will test you. Discipline is what keeps you aligned through both. Most people want a life they can be proud of. Pride does not come from luck or comparison. It comes from knowing that when things were difficult, you showed up anyway, that you did not abandon yourself. Discipline builds that pride quietly, day by day. And one day, you realize you no longer need to chase confidence. You are standing in it. This is what discipline ultimately gives you. Not just success, but self-respect. And when you respect yourself, everything else begins to rise naturally. Chapter 8. Living with discipline as a lifestyle. Discipline reaches its final and most powerful form when it no longer feels like a struggle, when it stops being something you force and starts being something you live. At this stage, discipline is no longer an event or a phase. It is a lifestyle. It shapes how you think, how you move, how you decide, and how you respond to life itself. Most people see discipline as a temporary tool, something you use to fix a problem, reach a goal, or escape a difficult season. But discipline was never meant to be temporary. When it is treated that way, people relapse. They return to old habits once the pressure is gone. True transformation happens when discipline becomes part of your identity and daily rhythm. Living with discipline means you no longer depend on motivation, reminders, or external pressure. You do what you do because it is who you are. Your actions are guided by standards, not emotions. This is where effort feels calmer, less dramatic, more intentional. At this stage, discipline creates peace. You are no longer fighting yourself constantly. There is less internal debate, less guilt, less mental noise. You know what you expect from yourself, and you meet that expectation consistently. That clarity is deeply stabilizing. Discipline as a lifestyle also changes your relationship with time. You stop rushing, you stop procrastinating, you stop living in cycles of stress and relief. Instead, your days develop a steady rhythm: work, rest, focus, recovery. Each has its place. Discipline brings balance not by removing pressure, but by distributing it wisely. One of the clearest signs that discipline has become a lifestyle is emotional neutrality toward effort. Hard work no longer feels heroic. It feels normal. Showing up is not a big decision. It is the default. This is when discipline becomes efficient rather than exhausting. Living with discipline also means accepting that there is no finish line. There is no moment where you are done improving. And that realization is freeing. You stop chasing an endpoint and start respecting the process. Growth becomes something you engage with daily, not something you postpone for the future. At this level, setbacks no longer feel catastrophic. You understand that discipline is not about never falling. It is about recovering quickly. When something breaks your routine, you return without shame or delay. This resilience is one of the greatest gifts discipline provides. Discipline as a lifestyle also deepens your sense of control. Not control over everything, but control over what matters most. Your actions, your reactions, your habits. When life becomes chaotic, this internal control keeps you grounded. You may not control circumstances, but you control how you meet them. Another important shift happens here. Discipline becomes internal rather than reactive. You no longer need strict rules to prevent bad behavior because your standards are embedded. You choose wisely, not because you fear consequences, but because you respect yourself. Living this way also changes how you rest. Rest can no longer escape. It is intentional recovery. You rest without guilt because you know you earned it. Discipline allows rest to be restorative instead of avoidant. That balance protects you from burnout. Many people fear that a disciplined life will feel rigid or restrictive. In reality, discipline creates flexibility. Because your foundation is strong, you can adapt without losing direction. You're not thrown off course by minor disruptions. Your habits pull you back into alignment. Discipline as a lifestyle also sharpens your sense of purpose. When distractions fade and habits stabilize, your energy becomes clearer. You begin to see what truly matters. You invest more deeply in meaningful work, meaningful relationships, and meaningful goals. At this stage, discipline no longer feels like sacrifice. It feels like stewardship. You're taking care of your time, your energy, and your potential. You understand that these resources are finite, and you treat them with respect. Living with discipline also brings humility. You stop comparing yourself to others. You measure success by alignment, not applause. You are less concerned with appearing successful and more concerned with being consistent. This humility keeps discipline sustainable. One of the most profound outcomes of discipline as a lifestyle is inner calm. You're no longer haunted by unfinished commitments or broken promises to yourself. Your mind is quieter because your actions are aligned. That calm becomes a source of strength. As discipline integrates into your life, success becomes a byproduct rather than a pursuit. You stop chasing results obsessively. You trust that if you live by strong standards, outcomes will follow, and they do, often more reliably than before. This lifestyle does not make you immune to difficulty. You will still face challenges, doubt, and fatigue. The difference is that you no longer collapse under them. Discipline gives you stability during pressure and direction during uncertainty. Living with discipline is not about being hard on yourself. It is about being honest with yourself. Honest about what you want, honest about what it takes, honest about the effort required. That honesty removes fantasy and replaces it with clarity. Over time, discipline becomes something you protect, not out of fear, but out of appreciation. You recognize how far it has taken you, how much strength it has built, how much chaos it has removed. This is where the journey leads. Not to perfection, not to constant achievement, but to a life that feels solid, intentional, and earned. A life where you trust yourself. A life where effort is normal and progress is steady. Discipline is no longer a tool you use. It is the way you live. And when discipline becomes your lifestyle, success is no longer something you chase. It is something that follows you naturally, quietly, and consistently. As this audiobook comes to a close, take a moment to pause and reflect. Not on everything you have heard, but on what you already know deep down. Success was never something missing from your life. Discipline was. Now, you understand that discipline is not force, punishment, or restriction. It is alignment. It is self-respect in action. It is the quiet decision to live by standards instead of moods. You have walked through the foundations of discipline step by step. You learned why motivation is unreliable and why discipline must come first. You accepted full responsibility for your life, reclaiming control where blame once lived. You saw how small daily actions build unstoppable momentum. You learned to master your mind when motivation disappears, to remove distractions that weaken you, and to face discomfort instead of avoiding it. You began shaping an identity built on self-respect. And finally, you saw what it means to live with discipline not as a phase, but as a lifestyle. None of this requires perfection. Perfection is fragile. Discipline is durable. What matters is not how intensely you start, but how consistently you return. Progress is built on ordinary days handled with intention. The days when nothing dramatic happens. The days when effort feels quiet. Those days shape who you become. Now the question is simple. What will you do next? You do not need to change everything. You do not need a dramatic transformation overnight. Choose one disciplined action, one standard you will honor daily, one promise you will keep to yourself without negotiation. Let discipline grow from there. Strength compounds when you show up again tomorrow. There will be moments when you feel tired, uncertain, or discouraged. That does not mean you are failing. It means you are human. Discipline does not eliminate difficulty. It gives you the strength to move through it. When those moments arrive, return to your standards. Return to your actions. Return to what you can control. Imagine yourself 30 days from now. 90 days from now. A version of you who no longer relies on motivation to function. A version of you who trusts themselves, who finishes what they start, who feels calm under pressure because their actions are aligned. That version is not created by inspiration. It is created by discipline. Success will not announce itself loudly. It will show up quietly in your confidence, your clarity, your consistency. It will appear in the way you handle stress, the way you manage your time, the way you respect yourself, and one day, you will realize that the life you once wanted no longer feels out of reach. It feels earned. Thank you for choosing to spend this time investing in yourself. Thank you for listening with intention. If this audiobook resonated with you, carry it forward through action. Let discipline guide your days, shape your habits, and define your identity. Remember this above all else. Success does not start when circumstances change. It starts when you do, and that choice is available to you every single day. Stay disciplined, stay consistent, and keep building